welcome back to the Beach Bum Bookworm. I am Tiffany. I'm so glad y'all found me again today. My channel's all about cozy mysteries and romance books. And today I'm doing my 2025 SAS list. What is SAS? Good question, y'all. It is Serious About Series. This challenge was created from my good friend Elizabeth at Lizzie Phalos Books. Go check her out. Go subscribe. She has her hands in so much around YouTube. If there is a readathon or a challenge or, read this for a month that was created, Elizabeth might have had her hands in it. March Mystery Madness, Elizabeth. Amish in April, Elizabeth. She does a Little House on the Prairie. I think it's more of an author month. She does... her hands are in so much. She is amazing. Go check her out. Go subscribe to her. Let's get back to why we're here today, though. SAS, Serious About Series. This was created for me. No, it wasn't, but it feels like it was. It was created for people who read a lot of series. It is a way to work on, progress, get caught up on series. So this year, she does have a theme. She has a theme every year. Her theme, I think this year is Fun with Fives. I just create a list of 25. I think that her themes and her prompts are great, so please go check that out. Our video that explains it all and follow along with it. I'm just not organized enough to do all that. And I just picked some series I want to work on. So today, here is my list. I'm so excited for these. And let's get right into them. In 3, 2, 1, go! As always, don't forget to hit the like, subscription, notification bell. All three of those help us out tremendously. They mean a great deal to us. It costs nothing because support is absolutely free. And thank you for all the support you give because I'm having the best time. All right, the first one. Oh, I'm excited about all of these. Okay, the first one is the Coffee Lovers Cozy Mystery Series. This is by Tara Lush. Book 1 is called Grounds for Murder. So this series is set in Florida. I live in Florida. So does Tara. Tara and I actually live very, very close together. And it features Lana, and Lana owns, what is her? Purgatory. And because the name of the town is something Devil's Beach, I believe it's like Devil's Beach, but it's some play on that. Her dad is like this hippie, like free-spirited. I love him so much. I love the coffee shop. And I'm really, really enjoying this series. I've read the first 2, and there are 4 books in this series. So I will be working on that. Next up, I'm going to be working on the Tucson Valley Retirement Community Cozy Mystery Series. This is by Marcy Blessy, and the first book is called Dying to Go. Read this one, loved it, and now I want to continue the series. It is a 9-book series. This series features 39-year-old Rosie, and her full name is all of the 4 of the Golden Girls combined. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is it. I love seniors. I love retirement communities, and I love the Golden Girls. So her name's like Rosa, Sophia, Dorothea. I can't even remember how it's all pronounced. Rosie, Sophia, Doroche, like Dorothy and Blanche. Or Blanche. I can't even, I don't know. But it's fabulous. Oh my goodness. So, of course, it takes place in Arizona, which is awesome because I don't know that we have too many Arizona cousins. We have a few, definitely. There's Sophie Kimball and some other ones, but the Jim McKinley. But we don't have that many, and I can't wait to read more in this series. And Marcy Blessy has a new series coming out that I'm very excited about because the theme is something on movies. It's like a movie club or something along that line, and I'm so excited for it. Sounds completely awesome. Next up is a series that I started in my 24 series to start in 2024. Absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite books of the entire year. So I had to put this series on here. It is the Costume Shop series. This is by Diane Valere. I need to read more by her because I just love this so much. Book one is called A Disguise to Die For. And this features, what was our main gal's name? Margot. Margot's family owns a costume shop. And this takes place in Nevada, which, again, great for the U.S. Cozy Mystery Road Trip Challenge because I don't know of many Nevada cozies. Again, off the top of my head. Not saying there aren't any. I'm just saying, But, so, back on track. They own this costume shop. And Margot has always worked there. And when she turns 18, she wants to continue working there as her career. And her dad is a single dad, and he's like, I'm happy that you want to, and I would love to have you, but I want to make sure this is what you want and not just the only thing that you know. So I need you to go out and make sure that this is what you want. So she moves to Las Vegas, which is about an hour from the fictional town that we're in. And she becomes a magician's assistant. I really love that so much. And she's also working at a casino. So her father at the beginning of book one has an illness, and she has to go back to help take care of him and take care of the shop while he is recovering. And she's thrilled because, again, the shop is really what she wants to do. She had said that, and it really is. She is like my spirit animal. She wears a different costume every day from the shop. And I love her so much. I loved the dad so much. I thought there was so much witty humor in this. There was points where the dad snuck off because, so she was home helping him recover, but also he felt like he was being watched, which he was, And so he snuck off with a friend in the middle of the night to go to Area 51 to explore or something. It was hysterical. I loved it so much. And I can't wait to read more of this series. I think it's only a 3-book series, which I'm just so surprised about because book one was stellar. It was top notch. Next up is The Flower Shop from Kate Collins. I have read books 1 and 2 in this. Book 1 is called Mum's the Word. And this is it's actually, I think, a movie series on the Hallmark network, like Movies and Mysteries. This features Abby, and Abby owns a flower shop, and this takes place, I don't remember where. Nope, no idea. It's a small town. I can say that with great authority. Or with confidence that it is a small town. Watch it be one of the only series that's no. Anyways, I really, really enjoy this series. I've read the first 2. I thought they've both been really fun and want to continue it. And there are currently, I really didn't write down either. Never mind. I don't know. Let's move on because that's rapidly declining. Next up, another one of the series I started last year. This was also on my favorites of 2024. It was the first book in the German Bakery series, so I put it on my SAS list because I have to continue it. The book 1 is called Old Fashioned Christmas Murder. Oh gosh, it might have been in my top 5 favorite of the year. I didn't really rank them, but if I did this one, it would be so far up there. Okay, so this is a 6-book series. I've read book 1, so I have 5 more to go. And this is by Tracy Donnelly. And it features Fern. And Fern's family owns this German bakery. And I don't know if Christmas played into how much I enjoyed it or not, but I really, really liked her. She lives in this apartment that it sounds like an old huge Victorian house that's made into apartments. And the owner always has coffee, and everybody kind of communes and hangs out. They have a Christmas party. They're very just, it just feels like a neighborhood within the house, and I loved that so much. And I loved her love interest that came into book one. And I like her friend that just moved into the apartment with her. She has a male friend that she has been friends with since childhood, and she talks him into moving into the apartment complex with her. And I just see many more shenanigans happening, and I am here for it. I cannot wait. Next up is my favorite Tanya Kappas series. It's the Ghostly Southern series. Book one is called A Ghostly Undertaking. I have read books 1 through 5. There are 8 books in this series. This series features Emily, and Emily's family owns Eternal Slumbers, which is this family funeral home. And she has taken over, and she can see and hear dead people. So each book is her, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly, helping someone find their peace because, they want to have answers before they, for closure. And it is hilarious. Tanya Kappas's humor is just spot on for me. I love it so much. Like, that everybody in town is like, oh, we think that Emily, we see her talking to herself. We think she has the funeral trauma. It's just, and the interactions with her and the ghosts, and I love it so much. Again, it is an 8-book series. I can't wait to continue it. I highly recommend, if you like humorous cozies, to check that one out. Next up is the Paul Jacobson Cozy Mystery series. This is by Mike Beffler. The first book is called Retirement Homes Are Murder. I've actually read books 1 and 2. I just recently read 2, and I remembered how much I enjoyed book 1, and I really enjoyed book 2. So I was like, okay, I really need to check more of this out. It is a 4-book series, so I have 2 to go. And this features Paul. Paul is like 85 years old. And let me just say, this series is not going to be for everybody because it is very humorous. I guess I'm a humorous cozy gal. Okay, it is very humorous, but the humor is very self-deprecating. Just so you know, he makes fun of his age a lot. So he has short-term memory loss. So he can't remember, after he goes to sleep, he can't remember who anybody around him is. I don't think he remembers who he is. He has to keep a journal with all the information of all of his important family members and friends and himself and blah, blah, blah. Well, you can see how this would lead to a lot of shenanigans because in book 2, he had gotten into an argument with the victim, and he's like, I don't even remember who the victim is because he fell asleep. It was on a plane, and he took a nap. And the police were like, really, sir? You have his business card in your pocket. And he's like, ugh. And of course they don't believe him. And it's just, it's done very, very well. Like I said, it is self-deprecating a lot in his humor about his age. So keep that in mind. It's probably not going to be for everybody. Next up is the Scottish Shire Cozy Mystery series. I've read book 1. It is a 6-book series right now. Some of these might not be over. I'm not sure. Book 1 is called Murder in a Scottish Shire. And this is, I'm trying to look at the name. Paisley is the mom. And she is a single mom, and she also owns a knitting shop. Did I write down the name of her knitting shop? Paisley has knit together a sensible life for herself and her 10-year-old son, Brody, and Wallace, their black Scottish terrier. He's adorable. Having inherited a knack for knitting from her dearly departed grandmother, Paisley owns a specialty shop called Cashmere Crush. And we also, in the first book, meet her long-lost grandfather, and he becomes kind of a staple, and he is very, very grumpy, and I love him. I really, really enjoyed him and this series, so I had to read more. Next up is the Sloan Crafts series by Ellie Alexander. I think this is one of her only series I'm not officially caught up on, and so I need to make that happen. I have read books 1 through 5, and there are 6 books in this series. But I know that there will be more, so I still wanted to include it, and I really wanted to include series that I had a ton to read from, and the series I only had a couple to read from, because it will balance itself out and allowing me to really finish this challenge. So, Sloan Crafts by Ellie Alexander. The first book is called Death on Tap. Sloan is a brewer, and she actually was married in the first book, and the family that she was married to taught her all about brewing. They have owned and operated a brewery for years, and she kind of learned all she knows from them. And in the first book, we see something happen, and she needs to separate from her husband. And she's still very close with his parents and his brother. But she decides to make some changes, and she is working now for this new brewery called Nitro. And this series is so good. It takes place in Leavenworth, Washington, and such a cozy Bavarian themed town. And I've loved all of them in the books so far. There is an overarching story in this one, like a mystery, where we are trying to learn about Sloan's childhood. And I don't want to give more away, but just know that there is a story or mystery that continues overarching through all of the books. Next up is the Deputy Donut series. This is by Ginger Bolton. I have read, I think, the first 5. I have read the first 5. Book 1 is called Survival of the Fritters. And this series, what is our main character's name? Emily. So this takes place in Wisconsin, Fallingbrook, Wisconsin. And our main character, Emily, was married to a police officer. And he, unfortunately, is killed in the line of duty. It's not a spoiler. It happens even before the series starts. And she was a 911 operator. And she just needs to step away from all of that. And really kind of put some distance in between herself and first response. And so she opens up a donut shop with her father-in-law, and she names it Deputy Donut after her cat, Deputy Donut. And I love everything about this series. I love Wisconsin for a cozy, because I love winter places. I love the group that comes into the donut shop. I love when there's regulars in a series, like regulars as in not the side characters, but just regulars, like the Mahjong ladies or the Laundry Club ladies, or if you know, you know. I'm sorry. Anyways, and in this one, I don't remember if they have a name or not, but there's a group that comes into the donut shop all the time, and they're just kind of regulars. Love that for them, and I love that for a series. My favorite part of this series, not my favorite part, but one of the things that's always memorable to me in this series is that their delivery vehicle is an old cop car, like the really long old cop cars. And instead of like the row of lights, it has a donut that spins. I love it so much. And I've met Ginger at Malice, and she had on the old time cop hat, and it had a big donut on it. And I was like, that's amazing. It's just amazing. I can't wait to read more of this series. Next up is the Baker Street Cozy Mystery series. There are 3 books out in this. This is by Valerie Burns. I've read the first one and I loved it. It's called 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder. And this one is so fun because I'm trying to look at the main character's name. Maddie. Maddie is a social media kind of expert. She's always hashtagging, and I didn't know if I'd like that. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. She inherits her great aunt Octavia. Is it a great aunt or aunt? I can't remember. Her bakery and her 200-pound mastiff named Baby. And I love Baby. And this one was done so well because in the first book, Octavia has already gone, right? She's no longer with us, but her friends and Maddie, the way they talked about her and the way that they brought in her recipes and all that, you really felt like she was still there. It was done so well. I loved it so much. Maddie knows nothing about baking, so that makes it really humorous. Really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next two, and I hope this series continues for a long time. It was very fun. Next up is the Myrtle Clover series. I've read book 1. There are 25 books in this series. See, so when I only have 1 to read, it helps because now I got 25 to read in this one. Well, actually 24 because I've read the first one. Book 1 is called Pretty Is As Pretty Dies, and this one was hilarious. Okay, this is by Elizabeth Spann Craig, and Myrtle is, how old is Myrtle? 80 something. And she is a retired school teacher, and her son, who is, I don't know if he's the police chief or, I think it was the police chief. Does it say in here? Yeah, police chief's son. He's like, hey, why don't you join some, organizations so that I don't have to worry about you? Because Myrtle is, she's a very vibrant 80-something, and I love her so much. And so he's like, hey, I got a good idea. Join this church group. And so she does, and then a murder happens, and he's like, oh, gosh. That's not, he's like, and she's like, no, that you told me to join this group. I'm in this group. I'm going to solve this crime. He's like, that's not really what I meant. It takes place in North Carolina. I can't wait to read more of this. I love spunky elderly characters, and that's exactly who I think of is Myrtle, and I love everything about her, and I can't wait to read more. Next up at number 13 on my list is the Farmer's Market Cozy Mystery Series. This is by Paige Shelton. I have read the first 2. There are 6 books in this series. It says that book 1 is called Farm Fresh Murder, and I don't remember a lot about this. I know it takes place on a farm, but individually I don't. But I was like, oh, I like this series. It takes place on a farm. Haven't read it in a while. Need to get back to it. Here we go. Put it on my SAS list. It features Becca, and it says she makes jam. Okay. Let's stop for a second. Side note. If you're new here, I need all the Jam and Jelly series that you know of. Even if they're ones I already know, that's okay. Just tell me. Because if they're not, then I got new series. If you're not, if you're like, oh boy, I know. Yeah, I love them. So I had to say that. Okay. So she makes jam on her farm and sells it at her twin sister Allison's Farmer's Market in South Carolina. Oh, I can't wait to read more of this series. I don't know how I forgot about this series. It's not that I don't want to read something anymore. It's that I forget about series, not because I don't enjoy them is what I'm saying. It's because I'm caught up on them, and I'm like, okay, I'll start reading all these new series, and then I get so focused on those that I kind of leave these in the dust, which is why SAS is so helpful. At number 14 is the Sister Lou Cozy Mystery Series. I read book 1 last year. There are 3 books in this series, so I have 2 more to read. Book 1 is called Mayhem and Mass, and this is by Olivia Matthews. I love Olivia Matthews. She writes another series that, oh my gosh, the first one in that series was one of my favorites of the year I read it. It is what is the name of the series? The West Indies Bakery series. Oh, I can't remember what. I can't remember what the name of the actual series is called, but I highly recommend checking it out. I interviewed Olivia. She is hilarious and the sweetest woman. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love her. It says that in this one, that Sister Lou is a Los Angeles transplant right at home in Briar Coast, New York. After all, her beloved nephew Chris works at the college founded by her congregation. But while Sister Lou is always played by the rules, she's about to have her faith tested by murder. Book 1 was so good. I can't wait to read more. I love clergy in cozies, so this one really worked for me. Next up, oh, I'm so excited for this one. It's the Maple Syrup series by Catherine Bruns. I read the first one, loved it. I think it was one of my favorites of the year I read it. And I'm like, okay, I need to read books 2 and 3. Have I? No, because I just get busy. So if I put it on my SAS list, I have to work on it. I have to work on it. Book 1 is called A Doomful of Sugar. And this one, oh my goodness, everything about it is spot on cozy. If you were new to cozies, there are a few series I would tell you to start with. And I feel like this would be a good series to start because the location, the theme, the character, everything about it was cozy. Although book 1 has a darker, it's not that it has a darker theme, but book 1's victim is, well, I'm going to tell you about it. So this takes place in Sugar Ridge, Vermont. Is it? Yeah, Sugar Ridge, Vermont. And our main character, Layla, has her family owns a maple syrup farm. And in book 1, she comes back because her dad has been murdered. And that's what I mean by more dark or heavy, is that normally the victim is at least a little further removed in closeness from our main character. Sometimes it's a family member, but an aunt, or not to say that you can't be closer with an aunt than maybe your own parents, but in this case, she was very close with her dad. And I think that at points, it played into the story where I heard a lot of people feel like she was, that she jumped to conclusions and she overreacted. And I'm like, I think I felt like it was written that way because she was so emotionally charged from what was going on, you know? Yeah, I thought it was done really well because I think that is something that would happen because you are so emotionally invested in what is going on when it's, you know, a parent or someone that close to you. Really, really love all the characters in this. I love the side characters in this, everything about it. And they have I love the covers on these as well. Book 1, Doomful of Sugar, was fabulous. I can't wait. Number 2 takes place in the spring, and number 3 was at Thanksgiving. So I was really hoping to get to them, and I didn't, but now is the time. Now is the time. Next up is the Misfortune series. This is a long one. There are 28 books in this series. I have read the first 2. Book 1 is called Louisiana Longshot. And this is by Janet DeLeon. And may I tell you that I laughed so hard in book 1. I so funny. So our main character, Fortune, she was a CIA assassin. And something happens and her identity is found out and she needs to like take cover basically and go into kind of like the witness protection program, but not exactly. And so her superiors send her to where no one will find her, which is sinful Louisiana. And my, oh my, do you meet some characters. I don't remember the elderly characters' names that we meet, but they had me cackling. I clearly, based upon this list, you can tell that I am a humorous cozy mystery fan. And this one might have been one of the funnier cozy mysteries I have ever read. Again, I've read books 1 and 2. Can't wait to get back to it. Next up is a series that I have read the first book in, and I haven't read any more in it. And I'm like, I really need to check more of these out. I think there's 5 books in this series. I didn't write it down, but I believe there is. It's the Tiki Goddess Cozy Mystery series. I read book 1. My tie went on, and I read it several years ago, but I really, really enjoyed it. It takes place in Hawaii. So great for your Cozy Mystery Road Trip Challenge, or just because you want to read a book set in Hawaii. This is by Jill Marie Landis, and our main character's name is M, and M is recently divorced, and she's running the dilapidated Tiki Goddess bar on the magical North Shore of Kauai. She would have told them to shove a swizzle stick up there. Oh my goodness. Oh, it says if somebody would have told her that this is what would be happening. That as if all that isn't bad enough, when an obnoxious neighbor with a grudge is found dead in the goddess luau pit, suspicion falls on him and the rest of the goddess staff. With the help of the quirky dance troupe of Over the Hill Hula Maidens. So the Hula Maidens are this like senior, like luau dance troupe. It was amazing. It was just, I loved the beachy vibe and the Hawaii vibe, and the seniors were, I remember them being hilarious. I can't wait to read more of this. I feel like I got away from this one because they were harder to find. It's definitely going to be ones I'm going to have to read with my eyeballs, but I'm going to get the job done. This year's the year. Next up is the Fresh Baked Cozy Mystery series. This is by Olivia Washburn. The first book is called A Peach of a Murder, and this one's weird. I normally read series in order. I'm not dead set on it, like, you know, some people that, you know, it bothers them to read out of order, but I do try to read things in order for the most part. However, apparently I read books 1 through 6 and then 14. I don't know if I did 14 because it was a holiday or if I thought it was the next book. I have no idea. But alas, there are 15 books in this series. This is about a retired school teacher, Phyllis, and Phyllis likes to enter, she lives with a couple other retirees, and she likes to enter like cooking competitions, like local, like apple festival, apple contest, baking contest, or something like that, right? And she has somebody that she competes with and is very competitive. They're always constantly trying to beat one another, and a lot of murder. And I really enjoyed it, want to get back to it. So it's like, well, here's the perfect time. Next up at number 19 is the Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum. I can't believe how much I loved this series. You guys know I'm a very paranormal light. I just want to sprinkle. And you would think that a series called The Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum would be too paranormal for me. It's not. I would venture to say it's definitely on the light side of paranormal. And if you are really into paranormal, you might think it doesn't have enough. I think the first book is called A Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum, but I'm going to put it right here. I didn't write down the first title. I have read books 1 through 4, and there are 10 books out in this series. And this series features Maddie. And Maddie is talked into running the paranormal museum in town. It is hooked on to her best friend's tea shop or something like that. And everybody in town is like, oh, they don't want it's not that they don't want it. It's like they're embarrassed by it. Her family's embarrassed that she works there, sort of thing. I really ended up loving it. Next up is the Mystery with Recipes. I call it the Catered series. We've talked about it a lot recently, and I was like, oh, you know, I need to continue with this series. It's an 18-book series. I have read books 1 through 9, so I'm half finished. This is by Isis Crawford, and the first book is called, I don't know, I think it's called A Catered Murder. I'm going to put it right here. As you can see, my notes were all over the place, apparently. This features Bernie and Libby. They are sisters, and I love that dynamic. Their father is also involved in the, like, mystery solving. He was a cop. I don't remember if he ends up with an injury that puts him permanently in a wheelchair. I don't remember if it was at work or if it happened at work. I don't remember. But he's retired now. But he has all his sleuthing skills, so he often helps Bernie and Libby. They are very different, but they work well together, and they own a bakery, and they do catering jobs, and I have enjoyed all the ones I read. I will say that most of these, if you like holidays, this is a great series for you because a lot of them are holiday themed. Each one is called a catered somethings, but you have a catered Halloween. I think there's a couple Halloween. There's a couple Christmas. There's a catered birthday. There's catered, you get the idea. 4th of July. I mean, I think that they've hit a lot of the major holidays. So if you enjoy that, you definitely want to check that one out. The last few that I have, 21 through 25, are ones that were on my SAS list last year that I still need to continue working on, which the first one is one of my favorite series of all time on my new list. So I had to include it. It is the Sophie Kimball series. I love this series so much. This is by J.C. Eaton. Book one is called Booked for Murder. Again, laugh out loud, hysterical. I've read the first 10. There are 13 books. This features Sophie Kimball, which she goes by Fee. And she lived in Wisconsin or Michigan? Minnesota. I knew it was somewhere really cold. She was an accountant for a police force in Minnesota. And she was very close with one of the detectives, and he retires. And when he retires, he's going to move to Arizona and start a private detection agency. And he's like, hey, I need an accountant. And your mom lives in Arizona. It's 2 birds, 1 stone. You're out of the winter weather from Minnesota. Why don't you come with me? And she's like, oh, is moving closer to my mother a good thing? Her mother is Harriet. And I love Harriet. But Harriet's not my mother. Harriet and her friends live at the Sun City Retirement Village in Arizona. And I think it's Sunset, Arizona or something like that. And they are the stars of this series. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't really have a series. So there's always something going on in the retirement community. She has her group of friends, and then there's a poker group that they're friends with, but we see a lot of them. So some of their shenanigans get brought into murders too. And I love everything about a retirement cozy. So this one is absolutely hits it out of the park for me each and every time. This is another series I don't think is on audio, or if it is on audio, I don't read it that way. So I do read it with my eyeballs. So it takes me longer to finish, but I only have 3 to get caught up. Next up, the Royal Spinus series. This is an 18-book series. It's another one of my absolute favorites. This is by Reese Bowen, and this features Lady Georgie. And at the beginning of the first book, Lady Georgie is 34th in line to the throne. Now she's 35th because of her birth. But Lady Georgie is kind of stuck in a hard spot because 34th sounds really far from the throne, but she is like the granddaughter or the great-granddaughter to the queen. So she's not that far removed, but when you think about 34th, it sounds like it is. But she's pretty close to the crown. And I say that because she is not allowed to work, probably for 2 reasons. One, because of the time period. It's 1932, but also, and a woman in 1932 probably wouldn't necessarily be working. And if they are, it definitely wouldn't be royalty. So, it becomes a hard spot for her because she also just doesn't want to be married off to the Duke or Lord of whatever. And so she's very, very poor. And she is struggling. Her brother and his wife pretty much inherited everything because he was the male of the family. And so she's struggling. And in each book, though, the queen loves Georgie and is constantly giving her these assignments, and it leads to so much fun, so many shenanigans. I absolutely cannot say enough. And I will say, this is my favorite audio series of all time. The narrator does change because sadly, the narrator that I do think is the best narrator I've ever listened to passed away, I think at book 11. But the narrator after that, because I have read books 1 through 13, so I've done 11 through 13 with a new narrator, is fabulous. But the first narrator, the best audio version of a book I've ever heard. It is so much fun. If you prefer audio or enjoy audio, I highly recommend this series on audio. The lady does voices so well, and accents, and so much cadence, and I just can't say enough. I highly recommend it. Number 22 is the Jelly Shop Cozy Mystery series. Book 1 is called Jellies, Jams, and Bodies. It's the only one I've read. There are 5 books in this series. I need to get back to it. Next up at number 23 is the Love is Murder series. This is by Mimi Granger, who is Kylie Logan. I have read the first book. There's only 2 books out in it. So I'm like, okay, I need to read the second one. I really enjoyed the first one. Lizzie owns a romance book shop. She's not lucky in love, but she's lucky with her business of selling love books. Yeah. Anyways, it's in an old house, and it's really funny because each room is themed to a different genre of romance. So like, here's your historical romance room, and she has all antiques and this and that. She's like, oh, here is the paranormal romance, and and I just remember her having a historical room, and I remember her having an erotic room because she talks about like satin red sheets or something like that. It was really humorous. Really, really enjoyed it. Need to read the second one. I'm sad that this book only went 2 series. Next up is number 24, The True Confections Cozy Mystery Series by Sarah Fox. There are 3 books out in this series. I do think it is still going because book 3 just came out. I have read books 1 and 2. I enjoyed book 1. I gave it like 4 stars. I loved book 2. And this one has some of my favorite things going on in a cozy. So this features Becca, and this takes place in Vermont. Does it not? Am I lying to you? Yeah, Large Haven, Vermont, which is the North America, or the Venice of North America. So it's got canals and gondolas, and it takes place in Vermont. So we have winter, and it's just, I love that so much. And I love chocolate shops and like candy shops. And that's what this is. Book 2 was so good. Oh my gosh. Loved it so much. I can't wait to get back to this series. And at number 25 is the Haunted Guest House Cozy Mystery Series. This is by E.J. Copperman. It's another hysterical cozy. 10 books in this series. I have read, did I read books 1 and 2 or just 1? I read book 1. And it's called Night of the Living Deed. And oh my goodness. So this features Allison. And Allison purchases this old rundown. I was trying to see. Oh, okay. At the Jersey Shore. This rundown house at the Jersey Shore. She's going to fix it up, and then she's going to rent it out to guests. And the only problem is that when she starts doing these renovations, stuff starts happening. She gets hit on the head. Other accidents are occurring. Well, that's because this house has some ghosts. And 2 to be precise. And they are hysterical. Well, one's really funny and kind of mean at the same time. And basically what happens is 2 people died in this house. And it was ruled like a murder-suicide. They are adamant that that's not what happened. And they want our main character to help them. But the female, it's a male and female. And the female is very hard on Allison. She does not like any of her design choices for the house. And she is very, very vocal about it. And it is hysterical. I have met E.J. Copperman, who is Jeff Cohen. He was the Toastmaster at Malice, I think going on 2 years ago now. And he was so funny. I mean, I knew that I had to put something on my list that he had written because I knew it would be laugh out funny, and it was. That is my SAS list. Are you doing SAS? If you had never heard of SAS, please go and check out, again, Elizabeth from Lizzie Falo's books. She created SAS, and she has a theme and prompts for this year. I just simplify it, but go check out her Fun with 5 themes. Go subscribe to her. She's absolutely amazing. If you have a SAS list, please put it in the comments below. I would love to know the series that you're working on. I want to root for you. Hopefully that you'll follow along with me. And until next time, may all your future reads see 5 stars. Bye, everybody.